I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I'm just trying to make sense of what's happened. It all started a few weeks ago, right before my wedding to Emily. We'd been together for about 3 years. Things seemed pretty solid, or so I thought. She always had that bitchy edge, but I figured that was just her personality. Still, she could be sweet when she wanted to be. I'd seen some signs of trouble, but I brushed them off. Little things, her being distant late nights, her suddenly having to work late more often. But nothing screamed cheating at me, so I ignored it. Things took a strange turn a few days before the wedding. Emily started acting weird, avoiding me, snapping at small stuff. She'd get defensive if I asked about her late nights or her phone. I started noticing her being unusually secretive about her texts and calls. She'd always hide her phone when I walked into the room, even if it was just to check her messages. The worst part, she'd get this bitchy smirk sometimes, like she knew something I didn't. It was unsettling, but I kept telling myself I was overthinking it. Still, deep down, I felt a gnawing suspicion that something was off. That's when I started paying closer attention. One night I decided to check her phone. She left it on the kitchen table while she was out. I wasn't proud of myself for snooping, but my gut was telling me to look. When I unlocked it, I found a string of messages between her and someone named Mike. My stomach dropped. The messages were filled with flirtatious bullshit, talking about meetings, late nights, and how much they missed each other. The worst part, she was hiding it from me, lying right to my face. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. It was like I was punched in the gut. Everything I thought I knew about her and us was just shattered. I sat there staring at the screen, trying to process what I'd just read. My hands were trembling. Did she really cheat on me? Was I really that blind? I didn't sleep that night, just kept staring at the messages over and over, trying to convince myself I was wrong, that it was just some stupid flirt. But there was no denying it. She was deep into it with Mike. And somehow I felt like I'd been played for a fool. All those times I thought she was busy with work or just stressed, turns out she was with her other guy. And then I found out something even worse. I overheard her talking to her friend Lisa about him staying in our house. How the hell did I not notice? She was sneaking him in, hiding him, probably even sleeping with him in our bed. I was losing my mind and I didn't even know it yet. So I decided I couldn't just let this go without confronting her. I needed to know what the hell was really going on. The next day, I waited for her to come home from whatever late shift she claimed to be working. I was a mess, anger boiling inside, hurt twisting in my chest. When she finally walked through the door, I could see the smirk on her face, like she knew she was in control. I didn't waste time. I told her I knew about her little affair, about Mike, and all the lies she'd been telling me. Her face froze for a second, then she threw her head back and started laughing, that bitchy laugh that always made my blood boil. "Oh, Jake, you're so paranoid," she said, rolling her eyes. "You really think I'd do something so stupid? You're blowing things out of proportion. It's just sex, for God's sake. It doesn't mean anything." I looked at her, stunned. I could feel my fists clenched. "It means something when you hide your phone, lie about where you are, and cheat behind my back," I shot back. "How long has this been going on? How many times?" She shrugged, still smirking. "Honestly, it's not a big deal. I was stressed and Mike's just a friend. We've never even gone all the way, just some flirting, some late-night conversations. It's no big deal, Jake. You're overreacting. Anyway, I'm not gonna sit here and defend myself for having some fun. You're so damn insecure." That word, insecure, hit me like a punch. I don't know if I've ever felt so small and angry at the same time. How could she call me insecure when she's out there cheating, lying, sneaking? I wanted to explode, to scream, but I kept my voice steady. I told her I was done with her excuses, her lies, her betrayal. I told her I needed some time to think, to process what she'd done. That night I couldn't sleep. All I kept thinking about was how she looked when she was lying to my face, her eyes flickering, her voice trying to sound innocent. She's a bitch, plain and simple. She's manipulative and selfish, and she never cared about how her lies hurt me. I was shattered, my trust, my love, everything I built my life around was crumbling, and I didn't know how I was supposed to fix it or even if I wanted to. I felt so lost, so betrayed, like someone had ripped my heart out and stomped all over it. I kept asking myself, how did I not see it? How did I miss the signs? And the worst part, I knew deep down that this wasn't just a one-time thing. I could feel it in my bones. She'd been lying to me for a long time, maybe even before we got engaged. And now I was just trying to breathe through the pain, trying to figure out what the hell to do next. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and rage. I couldn't focus on anything else. Every time I saw her, I felt like puking. Her face, her words, her fake apologies, none of it mattered. I knew she'd lie again if I pressed her, so I just stayed quiet, waiting for the right moment. Honestly, I spent a lot of time just sitting in my apartment, staring at the wall, trying to come up with a plan. I couldn't believe I was even considering staying with her after everything I'd found out. But part of me still hoped I was wrong, that maybe she'd come clean, apologize genuinely, and we could somehow fix this. Little did I know, that hope was dead. One night, I decided to check her phone again. Not because I wanted to invade her privacy, but because I needed to know how deep her lies went. Maybe I was fooling myself into thinking she still loved me, or maybe I just needed a damn piece of the truth. I snuck into her purse while she was out, and sure enough, there were more messages, this time even more explicit. They weren't just flirting anymore. She'd been talking about meeting Mike, about planning trips, about how she couldn't wait to see him again. Seeing those texts, I felt my stomach turn inside out. It was like she'd been planning to dump me from the start. I was furious. Not just because she cheated, but because she lied, manipulated, and made me feel like I was crazy for suspecting anything. I wanted to confront her again, but I knew it wouldn't change anything. She'd deny everything, as she always did. She's good at lying, better than I ever thought possible. That bitchy smile, that fake innocence, she'd mastered it. I could see her doing it in my mind, lying through her teeth, telling me I was imagining things or overreacting. And the thing that hurt the most, the idea that she was already planning her next move with Mike, while I was sitting here trying to hold myself together. I decided I had to get out of there for a while. I couldn't stay in the same house with her anymore, not after all this. I started packing a bag, thinking maybe I'd stay at a friend's place or just crash somewhere until I figured out what I wanted to do. But before I left, I wanted one last talk, something raw, something honest. I told her I knew she'd lied to me from the start, that I'd found out everything and that I was done playing her game. Her reaction, she just rolled her eyes, shrugged, and said, "Whatever, Jake, you're overreacting. You're just jealous because I still love you. And honestly, if I want to fuck Mike, I will. It's not your business anymore." That moment, I realized she didn't care about me at all. She saw me as some fool she could manipulate, someone she could keep under her thumb while she did whatever she wanted. And here I was, feeling like I was losing my mind, trying to hold onto whatever shred of dignity I still had. I left that night, not because I wanted to, but because I knew I had to get away. I needed space to breathe, to think, and to figure out if I could ever forgive her, or if she even deserved forgiveness. As I walked out that door, I felt this strange mixture of relief and despair. Part of me was relieved I was finally free, but the other part was bleeding inside, knowing I was walking away from everything I'd ever wanted, all because of her lies and that bastard Mike. Leaving the house that night felt like I was shedding a part of myself. I never thought I'd be that guy, someone who walks away from his own life, his own future, because of betrayal. But honestly, at that moment, I felt like I was dying inside. Every step I took away from that place, I could feel my heart cracking more. I didn't want to believe she'd do this to me, not just cheat, but lie so blatantly and act like I was the one overreacting. Still, I knew I couldn't stay there. Not anymore. The house, once filled with so many memories of love and promises, had become a prison of lies and pain. I reached out to a friend who lived nearby, a guy named Mike. Yeah, same name as her little secret. I needed to talk, to vent, to get my head straight. And I did. I spilled everything, what I'd found, what I'd suspected, how I felt like I'd been played for a fool. He listened, but I could sense he was uncomfortable, maybe even guilty. I didn't care. I just needed someone to hear me out. For the first time in a long while, I realized how alone I was in all of this. My own wife, the person I'd trusted with everything, had turned into a stranger, and the man she'd been hiding in my house was no longer just a secret. It was a symbol of how deep her lies ran. In the days that followed, I kept replaying everything in my head: her sneaking Mike in, the secret texts, her dismissive attitude when I confronted her. It was like I'd been living in a fog, and now the fog had lifted, only to reveal a brutal truth. I couldn't even look at her the same way anymore. Every time I thought of her, I saw her smirking, lying, manipulating. I felt a rage I'd never known before. Part of me wanted to burn everything down, tear into her, scream at her, ruin her. But another part knew that wouldn't fix anything. It wouldn't bring back what I'd lost. So I decided I needed a plan, a way to get back at her for all the pain she caused. I started thinking about what revenge could look like. I wasn't just mad. I was hurt, humiliated, and angry enough to do something drastic. She thought she had control, that she could lie and cheat, and I'd just accept it. No, that wasn't going to happen. The more I thought about it, the more I realized she'd underestimated me. I wanted her to feel what I felt: lost, betrayed, humiliated. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some sucker she could walk all over. That's when I decided I'd make her regret ever messing with me. Not by some childish revenge, but by making her see how badly she'd screwed up her life. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew I'd find a way. I had to. I couldn't let her get away with this, not without some kind of consequence. Over the next few days, I kept myself busy plotting. Honestly, part of me wanted to just leave her, cut her out completely, and never look back. But I also knew that if I was going to do something meaningful, I needed to hit her where it hurt, emotionally, psychologically. I didn't want her to walk away feeling like she got away scot-free. That's when I started gathering evidence: screenshots of the texts, her sneaky messages, everything I could find. I also decided to tap into her social media, see if she was posting things that might clue me in on what she was really up to. While I was doing that, I also started talking to some of her friends, people I used to trust. I wanted to see if they knew anything, if they'd seen her with Mike, or if they suspected anything. Turns out she'd been lying to pretty much everyone. She told her friends she was so busy with work, that she needed space, or that I was just being paranoid. It was like she was trying to hide her tracks from everyone, including her own circle. That made me realize she'd built herself a fortress of lies, and I wasn't about to let her keep it standing. The moment I finally decided to confront her again, I knew I had to be careful. I didn't want her to cover her tracks or destroy evidence. I wanted her to see I was serious, that I'd catch her in her own game. So I set a trap. I told her I was coming back, that I wanted to talk, and that we needed to clear the air. But really, I was recording everything she said, catching her in lies, making her uncomfortable enough to slip up. The look on her face when she realized I'd been watching her all along, the shock, the anger, the panic, that was priceless. She thought she had everything under control, but I was one step ahead. When I finally laid it all out: her texts, her lies, her sneaking Mike in, the look in her eyes was priceless. She didn't deny it anymore. Instead, she threw a fit, called me all sorts of names, said I was crazy, that she still loved me, and that I was overreacting. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I'd seen too much. I realized that truth, as much as it hurt, was the only thing that mattered. I didn't want to be with someone who lied and cheated. I wanted to take control again, make her see what she'd lost, even if that meant tearing everything apart first. I knew I couldn't erase what she'd done, but I could make her regret doing it. To me, and I was just getting started. In the end, I packed up my things and moved out for good. Not because I wanted to abandon everything, but because I couldn't stay in a house filled with lies and betrayal. I left her standing there, furious and sputtering, her perfect world collapsing around her. Honestly, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Walking away from what I thought was my life, my future, was like ripping out my own heart. But I knew I had no choice. Staying would have meant accepting her lies, letting her manipulate me into thinking I was the crazy one. I refused to be that guy anymore. Since then, I've been healing. It's not easy, some days are better than others. I've realized I was damn lucky to find out the truth before I married someone who didn't respect me. It's cliché, but I learned that trust is everything, and once it's broken, it's almost impossible to fix. Still, I don't regret what I did. I took control of my life again. I learned not to ignore those tiny signs of trouble because they're often the warning signals you need. I also found out who my real friends are, people who stood by me, listened, and didn't judge. To anyone out there who's going through something similar, trust your gut. Don't let anyone manipulate or lie to you. If you sense something's off, investigate because sometimes the truth is a lot worse than you think. And when it all comes out, don't be afraid to walk away or fight back. You deserve honesty, respect, and someone who truly cares about you, not someone who cheats, lies, and makes a fool of you. My lesson. Love yourself enough to demand the truth and never settle for less. Because in the end, only you can decide what your worth is.